Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it away. Tonight, we gonna let it away. Tonight, we gonna let it away. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it away. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it away. Tonight, we gonna let it away. Tonight, we gonna let it away. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it away.
Hey guys, sorry about the wait. I had to blow my nose. Sorry about that. Welcome to the channel. Welcome, welcome, welcome in. Hopefully you guys are having a great weekend, a great Saturday night, if you will. It is the 8th, Saturday, February the 8th. So it's a big day, big day for some people. For me, it is anyway. But anyways, welcome to the channel. My name is Tanya or TitaniumBuilt. If you're new here and you don't know who I am, that's who I am. If you do know who I am and you've been to the channel before, welcome in and welcome back. Thank you for joining me tonight. I do appreciate you so much. I really do. So we'll see who's in the chat. We'll get started. We'll see what's going on. Aries has the longest name, so I can always see Aries first. Even if you're Black Aries, I could still see you. You don't have to be blue or green. I can see you because your name's so long. That's the way to do it. Hey, Ladybug, how are you doing? Hey, Lisa. Hey, Princess. Hey, Dawn. Hey, Mary Beth. Does anyone have any good plans for the weekend? Anybody doing anything fun? Hey, Ashley. I saw Lenora said she's dusting off her house plants. I mean, that's pretty fun. Fun for your house plants anyway, Hey, Mandy. I should probably do that more often with ours. I should do that with my fake plants. I have a few fake plants around here, and a few real ones. Vincent takes care of the real ones. I take care of the fake ones. It's good to see you guys. Hey, Ember. Hey, Niners girl. Welcome in. Hey, Wizard Walt. Feels like it's been a while since I've seen you, Wizard Walt. Hey, Roxanne. It probably hasn't been that long. It's probably been a day or two. Hey, Tempest. And there's Aries. Hopefully you're having a good weekend, Aries. Hey, True Crime Lullabies. It's good to see ya. Hey, CJK. Hey, Tie Knots. Hey, Cat K. Welcome in, everyone. Super Bowl tomorrow. Yeah. We'll be watching that. Too bad we couldn't stream it. Wonder if you can. I've seen people stream it. I swear I saw people streaming the Super Bowl last year. Let me think about how we would go about doing that. Because that could be fun. Because I thought that people were like they streamed the halftime show or something. But maybe I'm wrong. Hey, Boone. What? Oh, mad about what? I don't see Aries. What Aries said. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Me too. Me too, Aries. Everybody needs to be a little more, have a little more compassion, you know? And empathy is the word. I have too much of it. Someone could take some of mine. It physically makes me sick whenever someone's not feeling good. And even if I don't know them that well, I could just feel it in the pit of my stomach. Hey, Minister of Defense. Don't worry, everybody. I'm getting to the bottom here. Oh, your Meemaw's birthday's today? And tomorrow's your brother's birthday. Oh, look at that. Today's your Meemaw's birthday. Meemaw, that's such a Southern thing. I do know a few people that call their grandmother Meemaw, but not a lot. Not a lot up here. What do we call our grandma? I just call my grandma, but Nana's a big one up here. I'm trying to think of back in the day what they were. Granny. A lot of people would call their grandma Granny. Graham. Hey, Squeaky. Right. Well, now I have to use them. Did you see what happened last night, Squeaky? I know. I thought they were. And that's why I'm going to wait until tomorrow to see who's doing it. But yeah. So we'll talk about that too. We'll talk about that since you brought that up too, Aries. Okay. So first things first, house cleaning, I guess. Squeaky's comment said, unalived, self-delete, pew pew, or S8 are not actually real words. It's a shame what YouTube has reduced us to. And it is a shame. We were trying to get out a case last night. We've covered this before, and I think I did just use the words a little more than normal, but you should be able to use certain words if you're in the true crime genre. But I guess it can go into the algorithm and get anywhere. I'm guessing that's why they do it. But we were getting ready to get off our live last night. We were literally saying goodbye. We did it over Ellen Greenberg, who we've known for a long time did not commit self-harm. I have to say it like that. We know she did it. So we knew it was more of a homicide. Well, last night we went over that case, and I think with me saying the S word so many times, because I usually don't, I try to limit myself. I don't count on my fingers how many times, but you know what I mean? I try to limit myself in what I say, and I try to do it later into the stream, because I thought if it was within the first 10 minutes, that's when they would ding you. But if it was after that, you were cool, you're all right. No, you're not. They literally shut down my live last night, guys. They shut down the live as I'm getting to the bottom. Hey, Carl. They shut down my live. And then when I went to my back studio, my YouTube studio, it was your live was shut down. We are afraid that you are going to self-harm. Here's a number for you to call. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I'm okay. So I wrote YouTube right then and there, because I disputed it. And I wrote them and I said, myself nor my chat want to hurt ourselves or anybody else. And the video was put back up today. So, because the video was down and people were watching it. So the video's been put back up today. When they put it back up, they didn't put it up with the thumbnail. So I had to go back and put the thumbnail back on. So yeah, that's why the live wasn't there. So it is there now. It's back. Sorry. You know, when there's like something, well, you guys probably don't, but there was something, I got it and I couldn't see because the one I wanted to go back up to see, I wanted to go to Aries' comment. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I was in a couple chats today and there was, maybe I should just pull it up. See if I can pull it up. Just so we all are on the same page. Actually, you know what? I really don't want to go through the hassle of doing all that. Okay. So anyway, we're just gonna go with it. So Dreamcatcher, you guys are aware. If you're in our chat for a while, you're aware. She used to be a subscriber, member of the channel for like 2 years. She was like over here forever. I mean, like it was Dreamcatcher, you know, just someone that was always in our chat with us. Well, then all of a sudden she kind of just started acting really different. And then she was like really out of pocket. So I removed her from the chat and then she emailed me and lied to me. First sentence was a lie and begged me to come back into the chat. So I just pretended like, okay, be naive about the lie and let her come back, you know, into the chat, which I shouldn't have, but I did. And then she did the same thing. Like she did the same thing again. Well, now she's going around to creators' channels that I don't get along with. There's nothing going on, but she is trying to stir the pot to get something to happen. So she said to this creator that I told her that she had to choose between me or this other creator. And I would never, ever make you guys choose where you go and who you watch and I would never. I mean, only thing I would ever say, just like, don't talk bad about me. But like, there's nobody really out there that talks bad about me. I mean, other than probably BJ, you know what I mean? Like really, there's not. So it's not like, you know, it's a big deal, but like, I can't believe she said that to her. And then that creator, of course, it gets a fire under her butt. And she's like, oh, I would just never do that, as she's doing it. She's literally doing it as she's saying she wouldn't do it. It was crazy. So I don't know. It's been a lot. And I saw that, like, the only reason why I saw it was because I was in other channels today and they were reviewing this channel. And I saw that and I was like, are you kidding? Because when she did all that, hey, Southernish, when she did all that stuff, I just removed her. That was it. I just removed her. There wasn't a fight. There wasn't a, you know, I just removed and we moved on. But I wasn't going to allow someone to keep stepping on me. So it was just crazy. Well, she was already over there. See, she was already with Brittany. I knew that she had watched Brittany and watched me. I knew that. Like she had done that for 2 years. So why would I all of a sudden have a problem with it? You know what I mean? Like that makes no sense. If Brittany would have thought for like 2 seconds and been like, wow, she's been in both of our chats for 2 years and she's never said this before, you know? So it's just, yeah. People disappoint me, Mary Beth. They really do. Hey, our leader's a felon. She was. Well, yeah, she was. Jan, yeah. I don't know what happened to Jan. Jan left too. She's modding for the docket. That's all I know. I haven't reached out to her. So yeah, you can't watch other creators. I know. I've never done that, Tempest. I wouldn't do that. Even like like people that have been on my channel for like since day one. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think of I know Ashley's been here with me forever and a day. Like me and Ashley talk off of the platform. Actually, so this is a good person to say, and be like she would know. She would. I mean, that would be a person I would go to be like, if don't watch that person. I don't know, like you know what I mean. I wouldn't even do that with her. I don't know. It's just crazy. It's crazy to me. I don't know. And thanks, Jeff. T-Rev is a bum. Yeah, that too. But yeah, I just thought we would do some house cleaning in the beginning of the live, get it all out of the way. So if you've seen that anywhere and you're like, who is the creator they were talking about? It was me. It was me. I'm the creator. Reba, I'll tell you not to watch. It's just like, man. Well, I'll give you some advice. I'll give you some advice. Like Bullhorn Betty, for instance. She's a little out there, She's a little out there. But we're going to get into tonight's live, 16 minutes in. Don't worry about that. People that are going to be in the comments tomorrow, when they can just fast forward, it makes me giggle. Okay. They're going to be like, that girl was terrible. We haven't gotten, Judge Hippler hasn't given us a decision yet. I thought he might have by now. I was really excited for it, but he hasn't. We did talk the other day, and the prosecutors are going to get transcripts of Brian Kohberger's medical records and stuff like that. So that's a pretty good win for them. And we'll go over that tonight. But I wanted to show you guys this video. I don't know if you guys have seen this yet. I haven't seen it. Let me know if you have. But we're going to listen to Meygan Kelly. She talks to Howard Blum again. As you guys know, Howard Blum is an author. He's just an author. And he bases his theories off of him being an author, really. So take that with a grain of salt. Some of the stuff that he says in in this interview, it's like, what? Wait. But then some of it's it's kind of like, is that true? Because some of the stuff I don't remember hearing during the court proceedings. So I'm going to ask you guys about it. And once we get there. And then there was a couple little things that I noticed that they said that was had me kind of what? And then a couple things that were just not true. So I will correct the misinformation as we go. Just simple things, I guess I think people should know, but they don't. So, and welcome in, everybody. I did Ministry of Defense. I actually read the book to everybody online. Hey, Mike, you know what I just thought of? That's pretty I ain't gonna lie. I read a whole book to you guys on here with one eye. Go me. Go me. Go me. And I'm only saying that is because tonight and tomorrow is the anniversary of my car accident. It's 11 years today. So that's a far way to go, That's a far way to go. Good job. Good job, Tanya. Good job. Wow. I did it pretty well, didn't I? Yeah. That was why I was in honeymoon phase. Yeah, I have the book. Actually, it's in the closet right now. I just thought of that. I'm proud of myself for that, I did pretty good too. Sometimes I can't read his airmails were terrible, but his book wasn't as bad. So with the words that he uses the most outrageous words that no one's ever uses. I don't even know that they're words. But that's just, that's me. I digress. So we'll listen to this. I'm going to pause it here and there for commentary, of course. And then that way we can, go over it. If anyone wants to come up on panel, you're more than welcome. I did pin the link and we'll just talk about it together. You can tell me when to pause and things like that. So thanks for being here. If you don't mind taking a second, hit the like button. It really helps. And yeah, we'll get started. Sounds like bad news. Thanks, Frenchie. Me too. Welcome in, everybody. Look at her. She has a funky eye right now, too. I paused her one like where she's like blinking at us. She's pretty. She's beautiful.
Bonus AM episode. Brian Kohberger, the suspect accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students, is set to go to trial in August. But in late January, there was a pretrial hearing, and an important one, that revealed shocking new information that we have not heard before. Joining me now to break down all the developments is Howard Blum, journalist and New York Times bestselling author of When the Night Comes Falling, a requiem for the Idaho student murders. Don't miss a moment.
I did look on Airmail, and there isn't a new article out either. So I thought maybe there was like going to be a new article coming out. Maybe there is. Maybe it's getting ready to come out, but it hasn't come out yet.
Back, I have to say, it's such a busy news time for us to be doing this. Just shows the significance of what happened at that hearing on January 23rd and 24th. I was like, we've got to get this on.
Yeah, for some reason, she pumped out like 1 million videos. I don't know what's going on.
Because,
well, I
don't want to overstate it, but it's possible the prosecution's case is falling apart. It did not go particularly well for them. Let's start with the DNA. What happened?
Well, the way these authorities got to Kohberger wasn't through any other evidence at the beginning, but just a little speck of DNA.
Thank you, Southern
smaller than a piece of dust that was left on the button of a knife sheath that was left behind. They used this speck of DNA, they processed it so that they could give it to an FBI laboratory. The FBI laboratory then, after months of not admitting what they had done, it was revealed in the end of January in court that they had taken this DNA and they had uploaded it to 2 websites, ancestry DNA websites, that prohibit law enforcement from using this DNA. The FBI did this not out of any evil reasons, but just out of their zeal. You have to go back to the time of the killing. Here was a murder of 4 young children on the loose. They had really no clues except for this DNA. Except for this DNA, it was in many ways the perfect crime. They had no blood evidence, really. They had no evidence of anyone stalking these young college students. All they had was this DNA, so they ran with it. And this DNA allowed them to open up many other doors, ultimately having a series of search warrants that led to the suspect's, Brian Kohberger's, phone, his car, his apartment. But without that DNA, they couldn't have gotten these search warrants. And now the defense is saying, wait a minute. This suspect's Fourth Amendment rights were violated by the FBI's going into these prohibited websites.
You've been saying this all along. You've been suspecting that the FBI got this match between the DNA, the touch DNA on the knife sheath, and matched it to Kohberger's father, possibly by doing something they're not allowed to do, which is use the commercial DNA websites that people like you and I might go to if we're looking for a long lost relative. They have a public database. CC Moore, the original creator of genetic genealogy, talked to us about this a long time ago, saying there's only one that's totally public and anyone can upload their DNA and see what's on there. The other 2 are fee-for-service private companies that are not allowed to be used by law enforcement. Otherwise, nobody would go on there, right? They'd be like, if I ever committed a crime or have a relative down the line who might have committed a crime, I'm going to get him in trouble. So there's supposed to be this hard wall. And you said early on you suspected, because the FBI seemed to be very cagey about this whole thing. They didn't want to turn over the results of how they got this to anybody, that maybe they had done something they weren't allowed to. Go ahead.
Not only did they not want to turn over the results, they said literally that they had ripped up the evidence of their research. They said, we just threw it out. Who ever heard of it in a major murder investigation, the FBI discarding evidence? But this is what they did. But
they did say that. They said they had like written it on Post-it notes, and then they got rid of them.
The defense kept on pressing and pressing, and now they got a judge to give him the evidence, and it proves beyond a shadow of a doubt, it came out in open court that the FBI violated the protocols of these two genetic websites. Now, how is that going to affect the case? The judge.
Wait. Before you answer that, let's just show the audience what Kohberger's defense attorney, Ann Taylor, yes, that's her name, argued about this investigative genetic genealogy, IgG, evidence. Listen to her in SOT 41.
Your Honor, our position is that the court should suppress the IgG identification and everything that flows from that. This is supported by Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution, due process, Article 1, Section 17 of the Idaho Constitution. Your Honor, there was no warrant for several phases of the search that led to the IgG work, investigative genetic genealogy.
I knew someone was going to say that. Villanova was like, yeah, that's her name. What the F does that mean? So Ann Taylor is, okay, so when I first heard it, I thought she was going to say, she was in her head thinking Judge John Judge, because you know how everyone would say, you know, Judge John Judge, yeah, that's his name. So I think that at first I thought, well, she had that in her head when she said Ann Taylor. And so she just said, yeah, that's her name. But I think it might be because Ann Taylor is a clothing brand. It's like for like, I don't know. It's like a boutique, I think, for like your older woman that they would consider that. Like, you know, and I'm just going by what they say. It's not like, you know, like a super trendy boutique. It's more of like a department store boutique. So yeah, I think that's why she said that, but that's the only thing I could think of. Like, cause you know how when everyone was saying Judge John Judge, they'd be like, yeah, that's his name. Like I don't know. And that's what I was getting out of it, but maybe not. Maybe it's the clothing brand, Ann Taylor, but it's not even spelled the same.
And we think every single one of those stages, a warrant was required. None was given. And so this must be suppressed.
Oh, it is spelled the same then. If it's with an E.
She's saying all the goods they got after getting that hit have to be suppressed and cannot be used because they're in essence the fruit of the poisonous tree.
Exactly. And if you look at what they had before then, there's not much except for one thing. After Kohberger is arrested, he's in a Pennsylvania jail, and they do a cheek swab. And the DNA from that cheek swab matches the DNA on the button of the knife sheath. That is pretty substantial evidence. But if they can get that thrown out, that will make a case that seems pretty much a shut case to be more open than shut. And there's going to be a possibility of a Franks hearing. It's a judicial process named after a 1978 Supreme Court case where evidence was thrown out because the police had falsified information to get their warrants. The judge has not said he will have this Franks hearing, but he has raised the possibility and he's asked the lawyers to keep time available to have such a hearing. And if that's not
what the prosecution wanted to hear. The prosecution wanted to hear, there's no need for a hearing. This is ridiculous. You know, irrespective of how we got to Brian Kohberger's father as being related to the person whose DNA was on the knife sheath, we know it is Brian Kohberger's DNA because we ultimately took a cheek swab that shows it was him. But the problem for the prosecution is the judge is not saying no. He's keeping the door open. He might actually have a hearing on this, so he's at least a little interested. But can I just say this to what you just said, Howard? The DNA matching Kohberger directly is absolutely devastating. There's no question. It's a terrible fact for the defense. But as I understand her argument, Ann Taylor's, it's that you would never have been cheek swabbing Brian Kohberger if you hadn't been doing the shenanigans with the DNA and 23andMe. Like, she's saying you can't even use the cheek swab because it too is fruit of the poisonous tree.
That is what she's arguing. That's part of her argument. But also at that hearing, something else was revealed, which is perhaps even more dramatic and makes her case even more substantial.
Okay, so
he's like, can I say it yet? He's like, can I say it? He wants to say it so bad. He wants to talk about that DNA so bad.
Before we get to that, let me finish up this part. I know there's a lot of stuff to discuss. So just so the audience knows, that's what she's trying to argue. She's trying to say everything that followed as a result of you figuring out that Brian Kohberger's DNA, his dad's DNA, was traceable from that knife sheath has to be removed. You have to get rid of it, including the cheek swab. Now, the judge did not seem like he was going to do that. He seemed very into the actual cheek swab, and he didn't sound like a man who thinks that's fruit of any poisonous tree. But here he is, Judge Hitler, talking about that DNA match in SOT 43.
There's a DNA match between the DNA in the sheath and Mr. Kohberger. Isn't that probable cause every day and twice on Sunday?
Not in this context. Not.
I forgot he said that. I watched this earlier too. I must have missed that. We're getting a shirt that says that. Now I got to write it down, make sure I got it wrote down right.
Isn't that probable cause every day and twice on Sunday?
Not in this context. Not in this context because of the IgG work.
That's, again, she's saying the investigative genetic genealogy
I got it.
undermines it and makes it unusable. Is that basically what happened?
That's basically what happened. But also, if they throw it out, there's really not much there. I mean, you have to, in many ways, it was a perfect crime, except for the leaving the knife sheath behind. Consider the house there was so much blood in the house that it was coming out of the sides of the house. It was coming down the foundation of the building at 1122 King Road. And yet, no blood was ever found on Kohberger. No blood was found in his car. No blood was found in his apartment. There is no evidence also of Kohberger having any connection to any of the murder victims. There's no evidence of him talking to any of them, ever being in the house, of him stalking them on the internet. There's no murder weapon. There's no motive even. So
This guy's been riding hard for Brian Kohberger since the beginning.
without this DNA evidence, the case against Kohberger becomes a lot more problematic.
Okay, but how about the fact that, I mean, the best fact, I think, other than the DNA match, is the fact that when the police went to arrest him in the Poconos in December, this crime was committed the month before in November. My God, is it 2022 now? I'm losing track.
Yes.
Yeah, 2022. When they arrested him in his home, back in his parents' home in December, he was there putting his trash into individual little baggies that were being disposed of in the neighbor's trash can. That is terrible. Very.
Want to point something out because people in my comment section, y'all think y'all are crazy. Some of y'all drank the Kool-Aid. Someone the other day, and I've heard this so many times, they said, in Pennsylvania, that's how you recycle. No, ma'am, that's not. I'm from Pennsylvania. I don't live there now, but I have family there. I was born there, raised there. Just to let you know, I know Pennsylvania. You do not have to put your stuff in little baggies and then take it to the neighbor's trash and throw it away. Yeah. So, and I'm like, this guy has OCD, right? He's not going to want to touch his own trash to begin with. That's why he had the gloves on, he was gloved up. But yeah, this person was like, that's how they recycle. And I'm like, no, everyone recycles the same in every state. We all put our plastic together and our, paper and plastic separate, things like that, cans, you know what I mean? Like, it's all the same. It was insanity to me. It was just insanity. I was just like, oh my gosh, I've heard it all. And I can't remember exactly which creator it was way back when, many moons ago, made up that stupid lie. But now I need to figure out who it was so I can remember. So I just remember, because somebody made it up. They heard it somewhere in a chat and it's untrue.
incriminating.
I mean, he was putting it in the neighbor's trash, for goodness sakes. Isn't that illegal? I don't know how illegal that would be, actually. I mean, you can't put your trash in there, but I mean, you could take their trash out, but I don't know. Wonder how much trouble you'd get into. They'd probably give you a fine or something, but
It's very incriminating, yes.
HOA wouldn't appreciate that.
But if Ann Taylor, the defense attorney, is trying to get that,
Mm-hmm.
the FBI and the police coming into his house, she's trying to get that thrown out. The terms of this, she's claiming it was an unlawful assault without the necessary warrants to
That's not gonna
arrest him in his house. She's raising
toast.
everything.
Of course,
well,
as any good defense lawyer will. But that one's, we've heard her out on the genetic genealogy thing. You were right, and she was right that there was some funny business going on from the sound of it. But there's no way she's getting out the FBI, what they found upon arresting him. No way. And it's just a terrible damn fact. But to go back to your first point, I firmly believe Kohberger committed this crime. But what's fascinating is how good he was at covering it up, to your point. There's no murder weapon. And she reiterated these points. So these are all updated now. We've been speculating, but she was on the record with, they haven't found a murder weapon. They did not find any blood, Howard. She said this, on Brian, on any of his belongings, or even anywhere in that car that they practically dissected.
Yes, I mean, they took apart the brake gears. They were looking all over for any blood. No blood in his student apartment at Washington State University. Nowhere. It was a perfect crime in many ways, except for leaving behind the knife sheath.
Such a massive, massive error. But what about the car and the phone evidence? Because when we read the police affidavit before his arrest, it was white car, Hyundai Elantra. They changed the year once they started to narrow in on Kohberger because they had the years wrong. But then they said, okay, it's 15. It's not just 16 anyway, whatever his car was. And we've seen that car around, the murder house many times, according to the cops. And also his phone records show that he was in the vicinity of the murder house over and over, including.
Well, hell, they got him on it almost looks like his car. I'd have to pull the video. Who was it? KTVB? Was that the local place? Or is that somewhere else that's local? That's a local, that might be local for Sebastian. But there was a car. So the morning after, there was a guy out there filming or whatever. And you see in the back, it's like a news guy and he's filming about the crime that's going on, and it's right when right after it happened, they're one of the first news, people on the scene, and you see this white car and it looks like, in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinions, it looked like a white Hyundai Elantra. I'll have to pull the video and we'll have to check that out sometime. If I don't find it tonight, I'll make sure I find that video.
The night before, they didn't have him there during the murder hours because his phone was off. Right. But then the next morning, he appeared to go back before they had found the bodies in the 9 a.m. hour. So speak to that.
Well, here's what the defense is going to say. And I think it's a fairly convincing argument, especially in a death penalty case.
Around 12-1.
You have a white Hyundai Elantra by the house, but you have no proof that that's Kohberger's car. You never see the license plate on any of the videos. You never see the man behind the wheel in any of those videos. They're all obscured. So there are lots of white Hyundai Elantras around. They can't make that connection directly. Then when you have the cell phone tower triangulation that puts him in the neighborhood of the murder house, well, it's a 10-mile radius. In a town like Moscow, 10 miles takes up a lot of territory, a lot of neighborhoods. You never have any proof that he ever parked in front of the house. His car ever came to a halt in front of the house. You can speculate, but you can't prove it. Are these inferences enough to condemn a man to death? It might be hard for a jury.
What is the 7-minute screw up on the timeline by the cops?
Well, it seems the cops, when they were tracking the white Hyundai Elantra that night, made an error. They got the timelines wrong, whether accidentally or deliberately, but off by 7 minutes. And they put the car that they allege is Kohberger's closer to Moscow at the time. But The defense is saying that because of this screw up, which no one seems to be arguing that the cops got this time incorrect, this would have allowed Kohberger to be driving away from Moscow and to this state park where they claim he was at the time of the murders. That would seem
Stargazing.
to yes,
To connect to their Wi-Fi, I would say you would have to be. I'm not good with like feet, but like I'm not good at like with like measurements. But I'm trying to think of like my own. A good. I mean, I've got to be all the way down at the car. I would say no more than 30, like no more than, it would probably maybe like go up to maybe 30 feet, 20 feet, something like that. And then you'd have to get an access point, a wireless access point. That way you can make the signal go even further. So your signal will go a certain amount of like length. I know this part. From dating somebody in IT. And then after it, when it starts to like get to where it's not working as well, a lot of like businesses or whatever, for instance, they'll put in like a wireless access point and that'll give them more range. So I don't know for sure if he would connect to theirs. Like that's really crazy that if he was driving and he connected from the road, but I guess it's not impossible, I would say, but improbable, especially if it's hitting off of Kaylee's. I don't know. I think that's what they were trying to say. It was Kaylee's speaker that was picking it up. Now I don't know if it would do that because, you'd be on the other side of the house, all the way on the street. Be kind of weird. Oh, thank you for gifting our membership, Southernish. That's so nice. Thank you.
Stargazing on a cloudy night at 4 a.m. when the temperatures are a little below freezing.
My gosh. All right. So it's a screw up by the cops that won't be helpful to the prosecutors in trying to show this case was done by the book, all T's crossed, all I's dotted. All right. So that's some of the stuff. I'm amazed that at this point in the case, she's saying openly there's no blood evidence tying him to the crime. I thought for sure they'd find something, that with all the searches they did of his apartment or his car, his clothing, there'd be some speck of the 4 victims' blood. This is a brutal murder done by knife, K-bar knife, in the middle of the night.
300 feet.
4 beautiful college students asleep in their beds or in their.
Tempest looked it up. She said 300 feet. Wow. See, I told you I'm not good with feet. I just know that I can go downstairs. I like for me to to get off of my network. I have to go into the car and I have to literally like go off of my network. So it's pretty far, I guess, actually. Maybe it's a little further than that. Yeah. Maybe I should go count the feet now.
Rooms at least. And he is alleged to have killed them in the course of 12 minutes, all 4 of them. You'd get blood all over you, Howard.
And there was so much blood in the house that it was, as I said before, coming out of the foundation of the building. And yet, to make it even more interesting, more dramatic, it was revealed that they did find blood in the house, unidentified blood in the house, but it wasn't Kohberger's.
No,
Listen
this
to
is
where it was
wait,
at.
so wait, hold 1 second before we get
Listen to where this was at.
to that that's an important development. But think about it, because many of us believe that he had on like a worker's suit because we saw that was, he bought one via Amazon, like a painter's suit, that would cover up your whole, everything you're wearing. And he did that for a reason, right? He knew he was going to get bloody, and maybe he had those little booties that, like when the heating guy comes to fix your heater, he puts on before he walks into your house.
He sure did have them booties.
But he would have, think about it. He's sneaking out of the house covered in blood. Where does he take the stuff off? Right? According to them, the eyewitness saw him, which would have shaken him. He wouldn't have wanted to be hanging out in the house, disrobing, changing out of his workman suit and his booties if he's wearing them. He must have done that in the car. You would think he would have done that in the car and then disposed of this along with the murder weapon on the way home. And we'll get to the eyewitness, which is the most interesting thing of the whole day. But pause there. We'll get to the blood. We'll get to the eyewitness. So if you got into your car with a bloodied jumpsuit and a bloodied pair of like those slide-on booties, there should be blood evidence in the car.
Yes, and there was nothing in his trunk. They've taken the car apart top from bottom. The only scenario possible is that before he got into his car, he had a garbage bag. He put all the clothes he was wearing in a garbage bag and drove off basically in his underwear, and that was clean. But where is the clothes he was wearing that night? Where's the garbage?
Well, I'm sure that he could have brought extra clothes with him, Howard. He probably didn't have to go home in his underwear.
Bag? Where is
I mean, he has been pulled over a gazillion times, right? You know, I mean, he probably, I mean, the chances are I'm surprised he didn't get pulled over that night. So I think he would have been clothed. I think that he would have taken that extra step.
murder weapon? No one can find it. They've been looking for 2 years now, 2.5 years, and they don't have a trace.
I mean, he did quite a job of disposing of that murder weapon and those clothes. That's all you'd need. I mean, it'd be ball game. He'd be done. He'd be total toast. I've often wondered if he managed to put it up in a tree somehow, like instead of digging ground, which if they'd gotten enough search crews out there might have been identified. Is there any chance
I think he probably
it?
threw it into the Snake River. He would
that's
driving back. There were the Snake River sort of came by the territory. He could have just tossed it anywhere near there.
It's so risky.
Or
though,
it's
to come back
possible
up.
that he went up to that park that he's using as his alibi. He could have gone to that park after the murder as he's driving around, perhaps, and then left it somewhere up there.
It's just
His phone was off for 3 hours.
mind-boggling. There's so much blood. The house is bleeding. 4 dead young 20s and teenagers. In the course of 12 minutes, there would be blood all over you. How did he get it to the point where there was no blood in the car? That's a big mystery for me. It's a big question in this case. Okay, but let's talk about
a big question for the jury.
Yeah, on the subject of blood, what you were going to say, we learned about those two other spots of blood.
Yeah. In the course of the hearing on January 23rd, Ann Taylor, Kohberger's attorney, revealed that there has been blood found in the house belonging to 2 unknown males. The blood was found on a banister, a handrail, going up to the 2nd floor, and also
A banister going up to the 2nd floor. Say what? Say what? Because y'all know, if you've been in my chat long enough, and we've been covering this case since November 16th, 2022. I've always said I thought the unaliver, the person that did this, went from the front door upstairs, not the back slider door. I've always said that. So maybe they're going to say like he could have planted it, or maybe he did have help. But I really genuinely don't think he had help. But I do find it weird that there is blood on the handle of the stairs. And I also find it weird that the front door was open.
inside a glove outside the front of the house. Blood from 2 unknown people. Now, this was a party house, so you can imagine there'd be fingerprints on the handrail.
Now, the
But
one
what reason
outside-
is there for blood? And what reason is for there to be blood on the glove? And if,
Or do you think 2 frat brothers maybe got in a fight at a party?
it belonged to someone who had gone to the house during one of the parties, well, how hard would it have been for the authorities to track down the fraternity boys who came in and out of the house and gotten blood samples from them? But to this date, 2.5 years later, they still have not been able to identify the blood. When the judge heard this, he said in open court, "Are you saying that Kohberger had other people working with him? This doesn't mean Kohberger wasn't involved, but there could have been accomplices. Accomplices. This throws out, a new mystery into the case. And here is how Ann Taylor is using it. She says the real question is, how did the knife sheath get there? She is now going to argue in the course of the trial that these two unknown males, either one of them or both of them, put the knife sheath on the bed. They were involved in the murder, and Kohberger, prior to the murder, had somehow innocently touched the knife sheath. The DNA on the knife sheath is just touch DNA.
That was
And
another
she's
glove.
claiming that, or will claim at the trial, that this
So
was
there was two gloves. If my memory serves me correctly, the police found their glove on November the 20th. Chris McDonough, the YouTuber that found the other glove, he found it either Thanksgiving Day or the day before Thanksgiving. So that'd have been like the 23rd or 24th that year.
done innocently by Kohberger. It's a argument that can raise a lot of doubts, I believe, in a jury's mind, and the prospect that there could have been accomplices in the murder further complicates the case.
We just found that out last court hearing.
Prosecution, did the FBI do any genetic genealogy on the DNA from the blood?
All I know is what was revealed in the court, and the court referred to it as unknown males. And, it seems
Any
that they can
theories
track it down.
on how not one but two men's DNA got on this crime scene, Howard?
Well, I'll throw out a hypothesis, and again, it's just a hypothesis, and maybe it's a sketchy one, but I believe Kohberger was guilty. I can't get around the cheek swab DNA that ties him there. So if he was out to commit the perfect crime, if he was a student of forensics, he could have taken a vial of blood with him. He could have put it on the banister. He could have taken a glove with blood already embedded in it and left it at the crime scene. And he could have done this deliberately to put the authorities, to look for two other people. And he would have, meanwhile, just gotten away with it. And it all would have worked if he hadn't left the knife sheath behind.
It's a fascinating theory.
I think that he could have gotten away with this if he didn't leave that knife sheath behind, too. Unless that camera at 1112, unless somehow like the light is shining from the other apartment or that other apartment right there, because they have a camera too, like the one right across the street. Maybe if they caught his face somehow, I mean, that's like, that would be major, but we don't know. We don't know if they did. But as of right now, we don't, think that he was caught on any cameras. Now, I mean, he was like, his car was caught on camera, but not his face. Now, maybe he was caught on camera down by where he lives, the university. They have really good cameras. They might be a little bit better than, just I'm sure, I know they're better than just like a regular house camera. So maybe they would pick up more. Maybe his license plate, even if it wasn't him, like per se, they picked up his license plate. They would say, who else was driving your car then? If he couldn't come up with anybody, then that wouldn't be good for him.
All I could think of when you were saying it was, of course, the famous Johnny Cochran. If the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. Right. And I bet you anything that glove does not fit Brian Kohberger's hand. And, if this is true, right? Like, what if he, as this, he's just getting his PhD in criminology. He's a TA in criminology. All he does is study crime. And apparently he was a very good student of it. Very annoying and irritating to everybody he worked with at Washington University. But what if he really did do that? What if somehow he had access to somebody's blood? I don't know how he would have gotten it, but there is some speculation this may not have been his first crime. If this was his crime, it was so meticulous and well handled. Perhaps this wasn't his first rodeo.
Crime.
And what if that really was like an homage almost? The two gloves, reasonable doubt.
Right. And it would have worked. And, the police to this day can't identify whose blood that was. And again, if he hadn't left the knife sheath there, I don't think they would have been able to ever get to him.
My God, such a colossal error on his part. I know this is a weird place to go, but I'd give anything to have been there when he realized he forgot it. to see the look come over his face when he realized his perfect crime had been foiled by him losing something as basic as the knife sheath, as incriminating as the knife sheath, and then just praying to God that all the times he handled it with gloves on protected him from fingerprints or anything that would tie him to it. And yet he wasn't careful enough.
And yet, if his lawyers can get the evidence on the knife sheath thrown out because of FBI.
I deleted the comment, but now I regret it. I should have said $20, and sure, I'll send it to you.
Overzealousness, it can turn the whole case upside down, and an innocent man could be found. I mean, a guilty man could be found not innocent, but not guilty.
Not guilty. All right, now we have to talk about the eyewitness, but before we do, I want to say this. This is the first time I really thought about the DNA now that they've been caught, right? The FBI, they shouldn't have used those private company databases. They did. They're obviously much bigger because a lot more people would give their DNA if they knew it was going to stay private and not be available to law enforcement. So they did, and that's how they found Brian Kohberger's dad. To me, there's actually no chance of the judge suppressing the genetic genealogy, the touch DNA, or anything because of that, because that is a violation of the terms of service. I assume it's Ancestry DNA and 23andMe. I don't know, but those are the two big ones.
It's MyHeritage. It's MyHeritage DNA. That was the one site that was cited in court.
Okay. So that's a violation of the terms of service of that company. That company has rules that law enforcement's not supposed to go on there. But I don't think there's a law saying you've broken the law as a cop if you go on there. It's just like the cop violated a term of service of a private company. So that's between the cop and the company. Maybe the cop, the police department gets sued over that. But I don't see how that helps the defendant whose DNA was uploaded.
I agree with you. I think they're just trying to create as many arguments as they can to force the defense, trying to force the issue. I do think Kohberger's relatives, if they wanted to, could sue the police department, the FBI who did this. I think the FBI agents who did this could be reprimanded by the Justice Department. Those things could happen, but I don't think it will affect Kohberger's case. But again, I was totally surprised that the judge left.
I'm just going to say this. What's his name? Now that I'm on the spot, I forget his name. The Golden State Killer. Remember him, Golden State? I'm going to pull up a picture of him so y'all can remember. There he is. This guy. Right here. This feller. This guy, the reason why he was caught was because of IGG. Was because of the same reason why Brian Kohberger was caught. He's in jail. We're not fretting over him. You know what? It's because he doesn't look like Brian Kohberger. If he was 30, 28 at the time, but 30 now, maybe people have a different, maybe like he's innocent too. But I mean, that's how they got the guy. That's how they got him. IGG. Pretty amazing. That crap ain't messing around. No, there's nobody's going to get away with nothing anymore. I mean, nothing. The days of getting away with stuff are over with, really, with what they have now.
Left open the possibility of a Franks hearing. And if this happens, if there is a Franks hearing, then it's potentially a whole new ballgame.
So interesting. Okay, let's get to Dylan Mortensen, right? Who is the eyewitness. He went in the middle of the night. He killed 4 roommates, but there was one roommate. There's another roommate who wasn't there, and there was this roommate, Dylan, shown here. And she is what they called an eyewitness in the affidavit.
She says that Bethany wasn't there, but Bethany was there. She was just downstairs.
She said She saw a man of medium build with bushy eyebrows wearing like a COVID mask, that they made eye contact with one another. She was frozen in a frozen shock phase.
Please.
And he went by her. She went back into her room. She locked the door. She stayed in her room until almost noon the next day as her roommates were bleeding to death.
I've been thinking about that. I was thinking about that today, and I don't know why I thought about it. Didn't think about this earlier. I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier, but I didn't. So what if Dylan, okay, so let's say she sees the guy with the mask, bushy eyebrows. She's in frozen shock. She retreats to her room, locks her door, right? What if she stayed in bed so long the next day, right? What if she had woken up, like, let's say 8 in the morning, 10 in the morning, 9, but she didn't leave her room because she was waiting to hear other people wake up? And so maybe that way, because maybe she knew something had happened. Like maybe she just sat there all night and thought about it, and she knew something bad had happened. So she was waiting on somebody else to maybe wake up and find the bodies so that she didn't have to. Like in her mind, she was trying to protect herself. Because I never thought about that before. I never thought but that's something that has me written all over it. I'm a flighter sometimes. When it comes to big things, I like to flight. But when it comes to like death, let me rephrase that. When it's big things I can handle, I'm cool. But I don't like dealing with death. I'm very empathetic. Dylan said he was wearing he was just wearing a mask that mentioned she did say the bushy eyebrows. It wasn't a ninja mask. It was a mask that just covered the nose and the mouth. It's in the PCA like that. Yeah, Roxanne, I have. That's why I can relate. Lee, yeah, no, I've read this. I could recite you the first 7 pages of the PCA. She most certainly said that. I'm not wrong, but if you want to say that, that's fine. I did before, Doodlebug. I should do it again. She's probably silent because she has to be. She's under a gag order. They're all under a gag order.
No one can understand the decision making, but no one's been in such a situation. I don't understand what happened with Dylan. No one does. But talk about like your witness collapsing. She may not even be able to give the prosecution what I just said.
Exactly. What happened was what you related with happened in the first interview the police had with Dylan.
Oh, his voice cracked. I'm trying to get to. Okay, I was making sure I wasn't on mute. Okay. DM stated she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the southeast side of the second floor. DM stated she was awoken at approximately 4 a.m. by what she stated sounded like Goncalves playing with her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which were located on the 3rd floor. A short time later, DM said she heard who she thought was Goncalves say something to the effect of, "There's someone here." A review of records obtained from forensic download of Kernodle's phone showed this also could have been Kernodle, as her cellular phone indicated she was likely awakened using the TikTok app at approximately 4:12 a.m. DM stated she looked out her bedroom but did not see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. DM stated she opened her door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Kernodle's room. DM then said she heard a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Then skip a paragraph. DM stated she opened the door for the 3rd time after she heard crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. Again, DM stated she opened her door for the third time after she heard crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. DM described the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. Now that we're all on the same page.
Over that week and the next week that followed, there were 3 more interviews. Those 3 interviews, she seemed to change her story. She said that perhaps it was sort of a dream she was seeing. She couldn't be sure. Then she said that one of the victims had gone down the stairs and that wasn't possible because the victim had died in her bed. And then she admitted finally that she was just too drunk. That too drunk was the words that Ann Taylor used to come to any
that's Ann Taylor,
reasonable consideration of what happened that night. And then finally, on the 4th interview, just before they were going to arrest Kohberger in Pennsylvania, the Idaho cops showed her a picture of Kohberger and asked, "Can you identify him?" And she said, "No, I can't." And that really weakens her use as a witness, between being too drunk, between saying that she might have been dreaming the whole thing, and then not being able to identify the photograph. Well, the prosecution's big witness I don't even know if she'll testify at the trial.
I don't know if she will either. And that may have been the point of her changing her testimony. Like, picture a scenario in which she's just too terrified to sit in a courtroom across from this guy, and also in front of the public, which, I mean, she didn't have anything to do with these crimes. It's just, there's a fair amount of like, what kind of a person would go back into their room and not call 911 after, she's saying she's so afraid of this person, she went into shock. It's just hard to understand. I'm not trying to be unforgiving toward her, but
I don't
maybe
want
that's what's happening.
Pugn her character. I mean, who knows what's going on in anyone's mind? But not only does she not call the police for 8 hours, the first people she calls are not an ambulance, not the police, but she calls fraternity people to come to the house. They come and they call the police.
And they are the ones we believe now, Howard, who found the bodies?
Yes. There's a new video that's just was released last week, and you can see Ethan's twin brother. There actually were triplets, sitting outside the house the moment when the police arrived, and he's wearing a pink sweatshirt sitting by a dumpster with his head in his hands. It's a very poignant video.
Wow. So because that was always one of the big mysteries, that it was somebody else. It wasn't Dylan who called 911 when ultimately the authorities were called, and we didn't know who it was. But now we believe it was the fraternity brothers who she called to come over to the house.
Yes, the actual fraternity brother who made the call was Ethan's best friend. And the police have never released that 911 call. I imagine it will be played at the trial.
That is unbelievable. So she is saying she doesn't know if she actually saw him or if it was her mind playing with her. She conceded that she had a lot to drink and was too inebriated to remember anything that happened that night with any authority.
And we watched the video about, the eyewitness testimony and how we watched a video on our last live on Idaho, and it was a news agency. They did like a skit, but the students that were in this class weren't aware that they were going to be part of this, like prank, I guess, or what you would call it. They thought they were shooting a video for something else, like a campaign for just like a commercial. So they're all in class and they're just like doing their thing. Well, someone comes in, this guy, and he runs up and he grabs the laptop from like that's sitting on the desk of the teacher, and he like runs out with it and he steals it. Well, they say, okay, students, we want you to be our eyewitnesses. And all of them pretty much got it wrong. They all did, actually. I think every single one of them got it wrong. The only person that got it half right was the one guy. And he was the one that was kind of out there. And I was like, man, he got it right. But it just shows you that eyewitness testimony can't always be 100% reliable. But in this case, it's matching up pretty well to the suspect.
And when they showed her a photo of Kohberger after the fact, she failed to identify him as the intruder she had seen. These are terrible facts.
Well, and I will say this about the lineup. They'll tell you if you're not 100% sure, if you're 99 or 98, don't point anybody out. And they even say, he's either in here or not in here. So maybe she wasn't sure all the way. Maybe she wasn't. Maybe she was indecisive between Brian and another guy that looked really similar. I don't know.
Not a very good witness.
No, she's not going to be helpful at all. And it's unfortunate. Their case doesn't rise or fall on her, but boy, you'd much rather have her say, I'll never forget those bushy eyebrows. And if I see those eyes again, I'll know them. And then say, there they are, right there at defense table.
Right. And what's making all these doubts about the case have even more weight, there's a bill that's just been introduced in the Idaho legislature. It was at the beginning of January, where right now the death penalty is administered through a chemical injection. And then if the chemicals aren't available, then there is a firing squad. Well,
there are like 4 or 5 states that do this. It's not just Idaho.
The new bill wants to get rid of the chemical injections and just make it a firing squad.
But
wow.
So they want to, they are demanding their.
And the inmates, I guess they surveyed the inmates, and the inmates said that they would rather have the firing squad because they know that it's 100%. I guess that stuff that they inject you with, sometimes it doesn't work. And I don't know what kind of pain that would be, but I couldn't only imagine.
Pound of flesh, in a sense. And that's going to weigh on the jury, too.
I'm going to try to find that picture of Hunter.
Wow. I don't know. I'm fine with the death penalty. I really am. I like O'Reilly always used to say he was against it because he thought it was too easy on the defendant. He wanted them to suffer in prison. I just feel like if Brian Kohberger committed these crimes, he killed these 4 young, beautiful people in the prime of their lives, I'd have absolutely no qualms at all seeing him shot down by a firing squad. I might actually celebrate it.
Well, you might be able to get on the jury then.
Oh, well, maybe I'll at least go out there. I don't know. I just feel like I have no empathy for a person like that. Again, it's not totally consistent with my Catholic faith, but it's just how I genuinely feel. I just feel like those people shouldn't be allowed to roam the earth any longer. But I have to be honest, I don't like the fact that all the supporting evidence is falling apart. And, when we talk about how the cheek swab matched Brian Kohberger, what we're saying is the cheek swab, Brian Kohberger's DNA was definitely on the knife sheath. That's what that proves. It was his DNA on the knife sheath. But let's be honest, all that really proves is that he touched that knife sheath at some point. It does not prove murder.
Exactly. Ann Taylor's big question, and what her defense is all going to be based around, is how did the knife sheath get in that bedroom? Who could have put it there? It wasn't Brian Kohberger.
Right. And if there's, if the car evidence is falling apart, right? It's true that you can never see the driver nor the license plate, right? You can't see the license plate in any of these videos.
No, you can't see the license plate. You can't see the driver. And it took the FBI 3 shots until they were able to identify the car. So Ann Taylor's going to argue it took the FBI 3 times. Maybe it should have taken them 4 times and they would have finally gotten it right.
I know.
And then the cell phone hits. They're helpful, but they're not ball game. But without a motive, without a connection. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I mean, the cell phone hits are 10 miles in a town like Moscow. You could be, on the other side of town seeing someone. I mean,
that's what Ann Taylor said at the hearing. Did the prosecution push back on that at all? Because I've definitely heard prosecutors argue, no, they can be more specific than that.
What was so interesting to me at the hearing, the prosecution didn't really argue any of her points. When she said it was,
I don't think the prosecution is going to waste his breath.
That was her words, outright lie, that he had stolen.
I'm sorry, but in my personal humble opinion, Mr. Thompson is not going to even stand up and give it a shred of energy. And that would be me. I would say let her run her mouth, whatever she wants to say. Pre-trial. This is all pre-trial. Get it all out. Let's get it all out. Go ahead. Like he does. Like he sits like this. Go ahead. And then he sends the girl up, and if he needs to respond, he sends her up. He doesn't even get up at half the time to respond. Now, when we go to like trial, I think that he will be up the whole time and he'll be going hard. But I think right now he's just letting Anne get all of this stuff out of her, off her chest, because I mean, they have to file these things because if there is an appeal, if he is convicted, they're going to appeal it, and they're going to want things like this in their category, or in their like catalog, I guess you could say.
Stalked any of the victims, they didn't argue. They went along with that. That there was no blood evidence, they didn't argue. There were no dog hairs found anywhere on Kohberger. They didn't argue. They seemed to be
the evidence says otherwise. The evidence says that they found one animal hair at Brian Kohberger's house.
conceding all these points except for the DNA evidence.
That's not good enough. That's not good enough, because it'd be one thing if his blood were at the scene and that was a match to the cheek swab. What we're saying the cheek swab matched was that one piece of touch DNA on the knife sheath, which I realize is a good fact for the prosecution, but it's not ball game. It's maybe he somehow touched the knife at a friend's house. Maybe he touched it in a store. Maybe, I know he purchased a knife on Amazon that appears to have been a K-bar knife, but maybe somebody stole that knife from him. There's a
Meygan, somebody just happened to steal the murder weapon but he had the sheath.
a lot of loops the prosecution's going to have to close.
That's not right.
I mean, you're a good lawyer. You're raising all the right questions. And now that unknown male blood has been found in the house, that raised.
It was bought off Amazon. So what did he buy? He bought the knife. Brian Kohberger bought this knife off Amazon, and he sent the knife back to Amazon. And whoever got the knife after him is the one who committed the murders, but he just happens to live really close to the murder scene. It would just, you'd have to see who the other person is that owns the knife, where they're at. If there was another person.
This is the possibility of a.
But I don't think you could return your good old knife, right, to your K-bar knife without the sheath.
Accomplices, other people there on the murder night, because it's not fingerprints that were found, it's blood. Would you leave blood at a party? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. But back to my favorite piece of evidence, the fact that he was shoving his garbage into little baggies for disposal in the neighbor's trash. The cops had already realized he was disposing of his trash in the neighbor's. The night the FBI raided his parents' home in the Poconos back home in Pennsylvania when he went on winter break is just absolutely devastating. Though I will acknowledge it is possible a crafty defense attorney will find some willing family member or someone to say there was a reason for that. Like he's got OCD. He always did this. He'd done it for years. We didn't know why. I don't know why if he had to put his things in Ziploc baggies, he couldn't have put it out in his own trash, had to go in the neighbor's trash. But that's a terrible fact for the defense.
Well, the defense is going to try to get around that in one way, is that Kohberger's parents lived in a sort of gated community, and they had a garbage service. The FBI and the Pennsylvania State Police got the Kohberger's garbage from this garbage company. The defense is going to claim they did not have a valid search warrant, a valid warrant to get this garbage from the private carting company. I don't know if that's going to hold up in court, but that's the argument they're going to raise.
So the best case scenario there would be they exclude the fact that they found the Kohberger's trash in the neighbor's trash bin, but it would not exclude them finding him shoving his trash into individual Ziploc baggies at the moment of the arrest in the middle of the night. That sounds like a criminal with something to hide, not an honest criminology student who's been, wrongly accused.
I agree, but at the same time,
I think he was praying that he would. I think he was trying to see what would happen over break. I really do, because he left like there was some things left at his apartment, but there wasn't like a lot of things left there. So I think maybe he was hoping it was going to all blow over. Nothing would be done. Nothing would happen. And then he'd go back, he would just go back to Washington State. And I think he was testing the waters, kind of see what would happen. Do you guys think he told his dad on the way home? That's a long trip. I mean, you think his dad bailed him out a lot before to where he would tell his dad? I wonder.
He's a very strange young man. He has visual snow. He was a heroin addict. He has strange practices. He goes off at 4 a.m. to look at stars in a wilderness park on a foggy night. Would he put his garbage into separate bags? Who knows?
Oh my God. Howard's just giving us a preview of how this is going to sound at trial.
I mean, it's going to be a very interesting trial. Even the jury.
Brian, do you separate your trash into little baggies? And did your mom know you were using all of her Ziploc bags? I bet she was mad. Them things are expensive. The thing is, Ziploc bags can be expensive. You know what I'm saying? She probably said, she probably went to make her husband a sandwich and went to go put it in the baggie for work and was like, where's all my sandwich baggies?
Selection is going to be interesting.
And they're going to, this is a good preview because Ann Taylor is going to pick apart every piece of the prosecution's case, every piece. Nothing will be allowed without objection, without a counter narrative. And all she needs is one juror. She just needs one to say, I don't have total confidence. I have reasonable doubt.
And in a murder case, you really got to be sure if you're sending someone off either for a lethal injection or a firing squad, you want to make sure beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're doing the right thing.
Oh my God, this makes me feel sick. I have acid in my stomach from this discussion. I wish they had more.
Meygan.
I know. No, it was an important hearing. You learned a ton. We corresponded privately. I was like, oh my God. Well, we've all been paying attention to Trump. Stuff's really been happening in this very important case that, truly, we laugh because it's now it's easier to just talk about the legalities of it. But these 4 beautiful college students, and once again, they are Madison Meygan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, murdered right in the prime of their life, November 2022, and their families deserve justice. And they deserved it before this August. It's been too long.
Yeah.
Did they talk at all about moving the trial date, or do we think it's on for August?
Well, they're trying. I think it will take place. I don't think this judge is going to delay any longer, but the defense is still asking for more time. We'll see if he grants it. I don't believe he will, but
no.
I was surprised he raised the possibility of a Frank's hearing. That shocked me.
Yep. The families deserve, just let's have a trial. There's nothing that's going to be gained by a delay by the defense or the prosecution, frankly. Howard, you're the best. Thank you so much for your great. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Unless they can find these 2 unknown males whose blood this was left in the house. If they can find those 2 people, that would change everything.
Wow. Thank you so much, Howard Blum. And people can get your latest reporting on this case in airmail?
In airmail and in my book, When the Night Comes Falling.
Awesome.
Yeah, airmail's
Okay.
the airmail articles. He doesn't have anything new. I checked before the live. I checked before the live, so there's no new airmails, which I was kind of surprised because I thought maybe that's why he came out on Meygan Kelly's show again, because he was just on her show last month. If you hear my dog coughing, she's okay. I think. You cool, Araya? As soon as I muted, she coughed really loud, and I was like, that was a good thing. I was like, good thing I went ahead and I muted. But I thought we would listen to, my dog's trying to get comfortable in her bed, my other dog. I thought we would listen to this before we end out the live tonight. So Ashley Banfield, she's back on the case. She's back on the case. She's been doing, for some reason, they didn't have the video versions of this, but they had the podcast version. So we're going to watch the podcast version. It's just going to be her talking. Let me see, actually. Let me just double check. Because I wanted to double check to make sure that it wasn't around this podcast. No. Wait. Maybe. Maybe it's just longer on the podcast. Okay, we'll watch the video version. Okay, and they're going to talk about the firing squad. Oh, and I went and I tried to check out to see if I could find Justin Papaworth Roger, or whatever his name was. Papaworth Rodriguez, that guy. And he's not on YouTube anymore. He was last time we were on, like maybe not the last time, but the time before we were on and we covered this case. He had come back to the platform and was like doing some sort of political, I don't know, it was some church thing or something. And now he's gone again. Yes, we have been watching it. We've been watching, or not watching the trial, but we've been doing trial updates. I was going to do them tonight, but I'm going to do them tomorrow. I was just reading the chat. Hey, Yvonne. Hey, Carolina. Yeah, why is he throwing away his trash like that? Yeah. I personally wouldn't throw my trash out like that. And I mean, bagging it in the middle of the night and then throwing it in the neighbor's trash. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, he could have been Papa Rogers, yeah. Is he back on there again? I just looked and I didn't see him, so he might just like not be in my, like, I might need to like go down and find him. But yeah, oh man. Wasn't he something else? The people that brought these people on the platform too, you know? Squeaky. He said, just kidding. Just kidding. Okay. Let's go over to here. Over to here. Man, I'm getting these guys in the worst way. Okay, there we go. I guess that's what the chair looks like. Oh, If you guys had to pick your way to go, I know this is so morbid. Would you pick firing squad? That sounds terrifying. You know, I mean, it sounds terrifying.
The bill's lead sponsor says death by rifle is, quote, more humane than all those other ways. My first guest has a lot to say on this subject, and he's got the knowledge
people, I don't know,
to back it up too. Dr. James Williams is a leading courtroom expert on firing squads. He also happens to be an ER physician. Dr. Williams, I am so glad to have you here tonight because I have so many questions about this. Take us through the mechanics and the protocols and just the step-by-step of death by firing squad.
Well, I can certainly give you the rundown for what we know of the jurisdictions that use it now, Ashley. The only state in the United States that has used a firing squad at all, practically speaking, in historical records, state of Utah, and they have executed 43 inmates since they began using that back in the 1870s. So 43 firing squad executions. So that's a pretty good track record. Has been successful in every case, although there were a couple of delays back in the 19th century. The procedure as outlined by the Utah Department of Corrections is pretty straightforward. The execution chamber is bulletproof all around. The inmate is strapped to a chair, which you had a photo of. I don't know that that's precisely the Utah death chamber. It looks pretty close to me, but I haven't looked at those photos for quite a while. Inmate is strapped to the chair. A target is affixed on his chest, overlying the heart and the great vessels, the cardiovascular bundle. To either side of the inmate, there are two witness chambers with bulletproof glass. On the one side is the witnesses from the public, and on the other side are the death house officials and personnel. Facing opposite the individual in the chair are the firing squad themselves. The state of Utah provides for 5 riflemen, one of whom is the captain of the squad. They
shit.
are
The people-
behind a.
So the people are, I mean, I know people are in there watching, like when they give them an IV, like, right? That's, I feel like with that, you can kind of look away. Like if you didn't want to watch it, them give the IV, you could kind of look away, or you might not even really see them give the IV. I don't know. I guess depending on where they're standing. But if you're dealing with a firing squad, that's a lot of mess. That's a lot of sound. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I could be there for that.
A concrete block barricade with a firing slit in it. They all troop into this chamber with rifles that have been preloaded by the captain. The rifle muzzles are poked through the slit, and on command, all 5 rifles are discharged simultaneously, with the
Only
aim point
one
being the
bullet.
heart of the inmate. This provides
Right.
very rapid demise for the individual.
How rapid?
say
How
I'll do.
long does it take for the condemned man to die?
So I guess all of them have bullets in their gun. Okay. I thought only one had the bullet, which, okay.
Well, we've got some pretty good data from animal models that I think is worth looking at. The best study that has been done was done in the Netherlands about 10 years ago, and what they did was they put electroencephalograph electrodes on the rats' skulls, put the rats to sleep with anesthetic, and then they chopped their heads off, and they monitored the EEG activity after the heads had been chopped off. And they found that after complete cessation of blood flow to the brain goes into disorganized activity in about 3 to 4 seconds. This is consistent with the findings that we have from observations in combat from men who have served as combat medics that I've interviewed on this topic. And also when we use, in police circles, when we use defensive tactics training, we often use a restraint called the LVNR, lateral vascular neck restraint, which sometimes referred to as a sleeper hold or the choke hold. This produces unconsciousness when applied correctly in about 3 to 4 seconds. I've had that happen to myself as well in training with law enforcement, and it's very rapid. You're really completely unconscious very quickly.
Are you saying that the minute you're shot with, and I know there's 5 riflemen, 1 is a blank, so 4
okay.
Right.
sets of bullets. If I know that there's 2 to 3 bullets loaded, they fire once as a group. If you're shot by 4 bullets in the same target area of the heart, that the heart would cease all blood flow to the brain within seconds, so you're effectively unconscious and feeling no pain after a few seconds?
Well, yes, you'll be unconscious in a matter of 3 to 4 seconds. That's my take on it. When those 4 rifle bullets strike the heart, you're talking about a tremendous amount of energy.
3 or 4 seconds is a long time.
The ballistic energy of a 30 caliber rifle bullet is approximately 2,800 foot-pounds. So you're talking about something in the neighborhood of 12,000 foot-pounds of energy
Welcome in, everybody.
passing through the torso, through the heart, in about 4 milliseconds. This is extremely destructive. The heart ceases to exist as a functioning organ, and blood flow from the heart ceases immediately. So this would be, in terms of cardiovascular physiology, it would be equivalent to slicing the head off with a guillotine, and there would be complete loss of blood flow from that instant forward. Thereafter, in consciousness in 3 to 4 seconds.
Thanks for watching.
That's a lot. That was a lot. Wow. Three, 4 seconds seems like a long time to me, though. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess it's not too long. I just, man, look at that. 152 in chat and 149 likes. Can't beat that. Hit that like button, y'all. If that's a lot. I don't know how I feel about the DP. I mean, I'm sure if one of my loved ones was taken from this earth, I would be like, yeah, fire in the hole, because but it's just, man, I don't know. Maybe maybe like there should be like an age requirement to this. But I mean, he would be over the age requirement, but maybe there should be. I know, SSD, you're right. You're absolutely right. You're right. They didn't have a chance. And we all know it was a lot longer than 3, 4 seconds. So, man. Yeah, they're gone and he's not. And I really still don't get how his parents have not been out to at least one of his court hearings. Like at least the first one, or the one where he was, he was supposed to put his plea in, but he didn't. I don't know. His dad can come out and pick him up for Christmas vacation, but you can't go out there and help your son out and be like a, hey, we're here for you, buddy. When he's about, he might be sent to the death chair. Oh, hey, Citizen Sleuth. I think that's why too, Yvonne. I think that they think he's guilty, or they know something we don't know. Do you think they'll go out during trial though, Ashley? If they don't go out during trial, then I'll be real surprised. Yeah, maybe they know more than we know. Maybe they're waiting until like the trial or something. Bring a nurse. I would like IV drugs. Me too. Me too. I'd be like, give me the IVs. I know what that. You just get it right the first time. Yeah, maybe the same for the real trial. I mean, I don't know. You don't think you could go, Roxanne? Yeah. That it might be serious. It may be one of the sisters. I mean, the sisters did get fired from their job, which I think that's just totally that shouldn't have happened. His sisters are not him. They're not a reflection of him. They're his sisters, but they're all different ages. They all had their own separate lives. And I think that was so wrong that they got fired from their jobs. I mean, everyone needs a job in this day and age. And this was 2 years ago. So this was right after we have been coming out of, the C word, and we're trying to, bring ourselves, pick ourselves back up off the ground. And yeah, I think that his sisters, I mean, like they may have a case to sue. I don't know. I hope justice is served. I think that it will be. I think it will be. I think they'll be able to find 12 to 16 to 18 people that are going to be non-biased by the time we get to trial. It'll be end of August, or I'm sorry, the end of July. They're going to start jury selection, and then beginning of August starts trial. I don't think it'll be postponed. I think that the judge is ready for this to go to trial, because it's been a long time for these families and they deserve some justice. And I mean, Brian deserves his own little justice too. He deserves, if he did it, to be sent away for the longest time. maybe forever and a day. And then if he didn't do it, I don't know. But if he didn't do it, then who did? Right? I mean, I can't think of anybody. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Southerners. Yeah, for both of his siblings too got fired. I don't know. They were talking about earlier that that they could sue because of the DNA. That's what I meant whenever I meant like they could sue. Um, he had an Elantra. Yeah, he did possibly. Yeah, and returning 3 or 4 hours later, it was like 9 in the morning. He came back or something around that time. Yeah, maybe he wanted to get the knife sheath back. That's what I thought. That's what I figured. That, or he was curious to know if anybody had like gotten up and seen what happened yet. And he was going to go and be like a spectator, because a lot of people do that. Yeah, if not him. If he didn't do it, then you know who did it. And the fraternity guys, I don't know, they didn't do it. Yeah. I would be screaming that I was innocent, but that's just me. Checking the scene, yeah. That's what a lot of people do. That's why cops are out there, like, cops go out there and they take pictures of the crowd because they want to see who's looking at them just as much, they want to see who's looking. It's crazy. No, I don't know about her. From Astrospace. Wow, Have you seen the video of the guy cocking the gun? I haven't. No, Rich. Wow. Yeah. Nope. I haven't. I haven't watched a lot of. Actually, I haven't watched anybody's content on Idaho 4. But a gun wasn't used in this crime. These kids were knifed to death. Like, we don't have to make up wounds that didn't happen. They were viciously attacked with a K-bar knife. That is just like having a gun. It is a weapon of mass destruction. He stabbed them and he cornered them. And he did this in the middle of the night because he was a coward. He wanted to see it. He wanted to make sure they were sleeping because he didn't want to come up on people that were awake because he was a coward. He brought a knife when he thought it was all girls there. I mean, I don't know. I'm not biased. I just know oh my gosh. Okay, you're out of here. I'm done with you. I'm over that person. That's what we do. We just, yeah. If he told me to do my research one more time, well, I just banned him. So never mind. That's what it was. It's just, man, he's been doing that all night. Do your research. Do your research. I'm telling you. And then I had to read the PCA to him. Because he was saying the PCA was wrong. He was saying that's not right. That's not in the PCA. 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 And I'm like, yeah, it is. If y'all were here with me if you guys have been with me since Idaho started, y'all know how I used to get. I used to get crazy. I would shut down the whole live if I saw a crazy comment. I would. And so I don't do that anymore. I just don't get crazy on it. But no, I believe everybody, I want people to have different opinions than me. I really do. I really, really do. Because if you are all the same, thinking the same thing, it's like an echo chamber. And that's just not fun, because then there's no debate. I love the debate. I just don't like people to tell me, do my research when I'm telling you I've done it. I don't think that there's anything I haven't saw in this case. And how many times have you read that thing? Doodlebug more. I think I know pages 1 through 7 pretty much by heart. We don't know anything about the unknown DNA. SSD. We don't know anything yet. Envision. It would be boring. Yeah. It would be so boring. Oh my gosh, that'd be so boring. That's why, I mean, you all will disagree with me when you need to. I see it and I like that. And I've never gotten, I don't think I've ever like gotten an argument with anyone that's ever just been like a difference of an opinion. That's fine. That's cool. It was good to see you too, True Crime and other stuff. It was really good to see you. Have a good evening. But yeah, no, just some people just want to start stuff, you know. But I forgot to put this in the chat earlier today. Since I just went off. By the way, does anybody want to become a member? If you do want to become a member of our beautiful, awesome channel, I'm going to put the link in the chat. I think Nightbot's been doing it, so it's okay. I got to go to bed, please. Oh, yes. Her husband shot and oh my gosh. Hold on. Oh my gosh, Southern-ish. If you need to get the word out or anything on that, let me know. Email me at TitaniumBuilt, or if you just need someone to talk to, email me. Oh my Lord. She was a nurse in front of their 5-year-old. Oh my God. That's the worst true crime. That's the worst true crime I've heard all week. Right in front of the 5-year-old. Oh, man. Oh, man. That's sad. I don't know what gets people to that. They feel like they have nothing. There's nothing else they could do. Like, I mean, like literally we handle cases every day on the channel. And that's probably the worst one I've heard at least all week, or, you know, even more. People are evil. People are. Man. I'm going to head over to Twitter just for a minute before we get off, just to see if anything's going on. Everything that's going on my Twitter, those all Sebastian Rogers related, I feel like. And I don't really know why, but oh, everybody's got their fifis hurt. There was something I wanted to show you. And now I can't remember. It was something like the other day, I thought. What's this? Today's day 348 for Sebastian Rogers. Wow. I'll repost that. If you're not following me over on the Twitter, make sure you do. And I'm just looking. Wow. So Grizzly's going to be, she got an interview with Ray Turney, which is the DA for the Long Island serial killer. Wow, look at that. It's going to be on February 9th over on YouTube. Let's see. Let me share this with you guys. Let's see. It just says premieres tomorrow. It doesn't say what time. But I'll put the link in the chat. because, you know, that's pretty important. I want to see that. I bet you're exhausted. Yeah, no, get some sleep. Get Southerners, get some sleep. Sleep and sleep in tomorrow. Turn the alarm off. Say you're not going to work if they tell you, try to get you to go to work. Thank you, Tempest. I appreciate that. But I appreciate you guys all being here tonight with me. I do. It was a good Saturday Night Live. If you guys don't mind hitting the like button on the way out, subscribe to the channel. We do talk true crime daily here. Every evening we're on at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're talking about, you know, just cases in general. We're going back right now. Like today was kind of like a catch up with Idaho, but we've been kind of going back to the beginning with Idaho and just going through things. We're going to be going through the complete timeline from like the text messages when they were sent to when they were at the corner club, all of that. So I got it from Sleuthy. She was awesome and gave it to me to use. So we'll go over all of that as well. So thank you guys for being here. I'll see you tomorrow. And I may do a live on the other channel. If not tomorrow, it'll be on Monday. Actually, no, it's going to be tomorrow because I'm going to do my story tomorrow. So it'll be tomorrow. I'll be over there telling you what happened the night of my accident. So I will make the thumbnail and all that tomorrow, and we'll talk about that sometime over there on the second channel. But I'll let you know, and I'll give you the link and everything as well. Bye, guys. Have a wonderful night.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up. Tonight, we're gonna light it up. Tonight, we're gonna light it up. Just like the sunrise, we're gonna light it up. Just like a spark that's breaking out, can't make a stop.